Hello and welcome to episode 37 of the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester, and as always, I'm delighted to be joined by my deadly duo in the form of Chris Tyler and Mark Knock. We have Alex Richards, Deputy Sports Editor of Mirror Sport and Mirror Football. However, being a busy man working in the world of sport, he's running a little bit late, so he will be joining us later on. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Spurs game, the Preston game, talking about potential more business, taking as many of your questions as we can and looking ahead to Newcastle. As I mentioned every show, this is a live broadcast. The reason we do that is we can get more interaction from you guys. We try and get on as many of your comments, questions, helps with the interaction, the flow of the show, and it's great to get everyone part. I can't read out every comment, but as long as they're reasonably clean, and if they're a good insult anybody, I'll put them on the screen so you can see your comments up there. So let's get stuck straight into things. Last weekend, it finished Tottenham Hotspur 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0, where Wolves shared 50% of the possession, had 20 shots, just 3 of them on target though, and 6 corners. Statistically, it wasn't a bad performance. On the eye, it was a good first half performance with lacking a cutting edge, but in the second half, Wolves tend to run out a little bit of steam this year, and that's a bit of a concern. Knocker, let's get straight to you. I'd love to get your take on the Spurs game.
I thought first half we played really well. Thought we were unlucky not to go in with a bit of a lead. Thought Guedes in particular looked really impressive. They really struggled to cope with him. He was physically very strong. He was causing them troubles all over the field, but he just a couple of rushed attempts to finish, I think, cost him on that one. But it was a really good performance. I thought we were knocking it down well. We were pretty fearless, and I think there's definitely an argument that we were the better team. Defensively, we were very sound as well. But we just switched off once from a corner and we got punished. And you can blame Collins for that, but I think also if you look at it from Kane's point of view, it's some pretty clever movement to take him out. And then
he's a world-class striker.
Well, that's what your top-class finishers do, don't they? They find the space. But other than that, I thought that Collins marshalled him really well and Kilman as well. I thought that it was a good performance from them too. And we were a little bit unlucky, but we paid the price, didn't we, for not being able to start at number 9 and not being able to finish those opportunities that we created, which was obviously disappointing.
That feels like a theme that's sort of taken over, and I know Chris has definitely got an opinion on that so far this season. But just moving on to you, Chris, with that performance, I know we've certainly had some interesting opinions that haven't particularly agreed across the week. But I mean, first of all, let's just get your take on the Spurs game.
Firstly, is Alex late because he's reported on our new striker signing, do you think? Or...
I mean, that's a great question. I would love if he was an exclusive breaking our new striker. I would absolutely love that. I'm not sure it's the case, but we can live in hope.
I bet you two boys covered it. I tweeted it at the time, 5 minutes after. I think our own substitutes killed us. I think as soon as Matheus came off, we lost all control of the football match. Jimenez, what can you expect? He's been injured. He's missed the, crucial part of pre-season before the game starts. So it's hard to sort of criticise him, but we just lost that. We had the midfield first half, like Knocker said, we owned that midfield. Nunes showed the glimpses of quality he's got. Neves was Neves. And Matheus looked like the Matheus we signed, 3 or 4 years ago. He was just class, wasn't he? And that was it for me. I remember Knocker said about the Leeds game, they made substitutions that positively impacted them. And it seems our substitutions just took the impetus away from us, and I think that's where the game was lost ultimately. Yeah, a bit of movement from Kane. I also think Aitnora should do a lot better. He's got to go and win that header near post. He let the marker get in front and get the flick on. We're running out of, excuses for him now defensively, aren't we? Let's be honest. But I think for me, that's where the game was lost. We were in control. If you can be in control at 0-0, that sounds daft, but we were more than in it. The finishing's a concern, whether or not you've got a striker or not. Like Nocky said, Guedes got himself in good positions, but then he seemed to snatch at them or scuff them. And we never really looked like scoring again, in my opinion. There wasn't a chance where you're off your seat or you think, we should have scored there. There were sort of half chances, 3/4 chances at best. But yeah, I agree with you boys. Played well, in control until the substitutes. And then I thought Tottenham, to be fair, were quite comfortable after they went 1-0 up.
Well, I mean, let's focus on the positives. It's never... Sometimes I come out of a game and you've been well and truly beaten by the better team. You sometimes come out as well and you've been rubbish and you've deserved nothing. I had really mixed feelings, and I try and be positive. I don't know, it's not everyone would agree with that. I try and be optimistic. Well, in terms of us three, I'm probably the most optimistic anyway, which probably says a lot for the positive.
It's not a very high benchmark, though, is it?
I know. I'll take winning something, but I look at that performance, that first half, and it's something for me we've been working to all pre-season. Yes, we didn't get the goal, but we have pinned back a Champions League team with a couple of Son and Kane are world-class operators. We've not given them a sniff. Now, we had everything but the goal, and surely we have to. I know it's a game's about 90 minutes and taking your chances, and you don't win anything for a good first half. But for me, guys, that was. I wouldn't say brilliant because you didn't score, but that's a very good first half. Controlling the team with all that quality. Go on.
How many times can we say it? You are Mr. Positive out of us three. There's no denying that, and you've been positive probably after all three games, and we sat here with 1 point, 1 goal scored.
Sorry.
So how when does that stop? Is my question, I suppose. When does it start to become a problem and a challenge and a concern? Because you're 3 games in, there's no wins on the board, we're not scoring enough goals. I'm a bit sick of hearing the old, oh yeah, but we played well, we played some nice football, it was nice on the eye. Well, yeah, but we lost. I'd rather get pumped 4-0 than, oh yeah, we played well, but we lost. I mean, it's irrelevant at the end of the day, isn't it? We need to start picking up some points.
I think what it did, though, for me, it highlighted the issues in the squad. Because, yeah, we did play well, but we know Dendonker's not going to do a Matheus, a Neves, or a Nunes job. He's just not going to do that. And I understand why Matheus needed to come off. But if we're being totally honest, Dendonker's not on the same planet, is he? And we lost all impetus in the game, and we didn't have the ability to affect the game from that point. I thought Spurs took full control. So, yes, it was a positive that we were good in the first half, but if anything, it's kind of brought us right back to where we've been all season. The squad just isn't thick enough at the moment, and we can't make those dynamic changes which will really affect it. Whether that's going to improve with Adama, if he can get stage with us and get some more football, maybe that's going to improve us. But we can't swap quality for quality at the moment. And I know we can't bring on a Matheus and a Neves and a Nunes all the time, but we've got to have more depth in our squad that allows us to affect games. Because I think the problem we've got at the moment, if our starting 11 goes a goal down, you might as well pack up and go home, because there is no way we're going to get back into it, because we can't impact the game from the bench. So, yes, it was an improved performance, probably our best performance of the season, I'd argue. But again,
I'd say that's our best performance in a very long time. I think we played better in that first half. I'd say that's as good as we played in that first half, for my opinion. In terms of purists, what we're looking for, yes, it didn't have the cherry on top of the cake, but in terms of what we're looking to do to completely dominate a game in that first half, Spurs XG was like 0.02 at halftime. That's phenomenal to hold Spurs back to that. It probably was unsustainable for me, and we sort of go back to last year. We did this last year, didn't we? We started off and we're like, well, this football looks all right. The football hasn't quite been as blistering, but you can see it's more attractive on the eye. You can see what they're trying to do, but without getting the results. And I think I said it last year. I do think it will come. Sunday's massive. I think it's the first time he's going to be under pressure this season. I think everyone's like, we won last night, when we'll talk about that in a bit. Mixed emotions on that, but it was a win. But
it was similar to last season, though, wasn't it? The difference was we went there with the number 9 and we were 2-0 up inside sort of 15 minutes, weren't we? We took the game away from them. I'd argue we had similar possession, we had similar chances created. We didn't put the ball in the net because we didn't have that natural number 9 playing for us, and we ended up the game getting taken away from us. So I don't think you can underestimate how important it is to have a number 9 in that position ready to go. And we were talking about it during, I think on the Sunday or whatever it was, how many number 9s or central strikers had scored. And in every single game in the Premier League, a central striker had scored, because it's such an important part of the game. It's the hardest job in the game to put the ball in the back of the net. If we'd have lined up with a natural number 9 in that position, maybe we're 2 goals up again, and it's a completely different story. But again, it comes back to squad depth.
I mean, there's a great comment here from Graham J. Thank you, everyone, for your comments, by the way. We'll try and get them on the bottom of the screen throughout the show. I can't read them all out, but the contribution's important. Adding sort of agreeing, disagreeing, adding more value to what we're saying. Graham J says, Tony Cascarino recently summed up Wolves as thus: the best team I have seen, the best team ever I've seen that can't score. With that lies our problem. And you would say that would definitely be the case at Spurs. I know we got a couple last night, but you'd expect that. But hopefully that with a number 9 coming in, or a Jimenez fit until someone else comes in to compete with. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, guys, and I'd love to get your opinions on this. If Wolves have got Jimenez fit from the start of the season, how many points would Wolves be on now? Tyler?
The same.
You don't think we'd have got any more points?
Everyone, I don't get why everyone's banking on this magical theory that if we get a striker, we're suddenly going to be the best team in the world. I don't personally understand it.
Well, let me jump into that bit, mate.
Name a chance on Saturday against Spurs that a striker would have scored. There was nothing flashed across the box. There was no. I didn't see loads and loads of chances created.
It's a different dynamic with
that's exactly that, Knocker. I was going to say it's different
because
5
or 6 goals, Knocker, the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, but
we're suddenly saying we're going to sign a striker and score goals. I personally don't see it happening. Neto,
there's reasons behind that, though, isn't it? We've been calling out for a forward at back, which allows us to be a little bit more attacking. I think when you looked at the way we lined up with Guedes through the middle, and then we swapped that, and they were interchanging the three. They're all naturally wide players. So I think if we were to have a central focal point there, you would see more of it. And you saw that yesterday. Jimenez was in the area and he was laying balls off inside the area. So I think if we do have Raul in that position, I think there's a much better chance that we may be 3 points better off.
Goals for 2 years.
Yeah, but there's reasons behind that, though, isn't there? I mean, it's not like he's just had a dip in form. He had his head.
No. I mean Wolves. But
we've changed formation now, haven't we? And
what I'm saying, I completely agree with Nocky on this one. It's not just having a number 9 in the box to create, but having someone in there as a presence, like last night. Yes, it was only Preston, but having someone in the box, a Jimenez running at the far post, someone as a target you can feed off. I think that brings Guedes. I think that brings Neto into the game. I think then you've got Nunes running with the ball forward. He's got someone he can play off. I just think having that proper number 9, that's why we're after that giant Austrian. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name and embarrass myself until we sign him. But someone like that we can play off. When you've got all that talent, obviously we'll talk about Neto's questions this week, but someone like Guedes, if he's got someone to feed off like Jimenez, not just someone to target, then I think we'll get more out of the team, Chris. That's what I'm trying to say with that.
I just don't see it. I just don't see if it's a magic wand and then it's suddenly all going to change. In my opinion, I just don't see how it will. I still think we need to be more clinical. We need to make better decisions in the final third. And we need to take our chances, whether that's a new striker or not. I think the whole forward players and the midfielders are responsible for that.
Well, I think on Sunday, I'll be really surprised if it wasn't Guedes left, Neto right, Jimenez through the middle, and pretty much the rest the same team as before. Maybe Semedo starts. He looks like he likes Aït-Nouri. Assist last night, good bit of play. But questions about
Neto over Podence then? Are you playing the 3-4-3-3?
I think I am, yeah. I think so.
And Neto over Podence?
I think I am this week. I think so, yeah. I think so. But let's carry on talking about the Spurs game. We'll talk about that in a bit. Let's talk about Aït-Nouri then, because you mentioned something earlier on. He's there seems to be any mistake he's done at the moment seems to be almost being punished. So I just want to get your take on him then, Tyler.
I said it. I think I called him a liability last week, and Collins got ripped on Twitter for letting Kane go from a bit of world-class movement. If Aït-Nouri does his job at the near post, you're not even talking about the Kane bit. Perisic has got the run on him. He's flicked the header. He's fell asleep again. He fell asleep at home to Fulham and conceded the penalty. We know about the Leeds goal was his fault. I don't know how many times you can get away with it. I think you're right, Ryan. You said in the group the other day, I think Bruno wants footballers, doesn't he? He wants attacking players, he wants options, and there's no doubt of his ability going forward. We saw that with the goal last night. But defensively, he has to improve. This is the Premier League, and you said every mistake he makes, he gets punished on. Well, yeah, he will at this level. This is elite level football. He's going to get punished. So Johnny seems a little bit off the pace, to be honest, and I keep changing my mind on my preferred 2 fullbacks. It probably still would be, after I've just said, Aït-Nouri, because of what he gives you going forward.
Well, this is it.
He's got to improve defensively.
It's a trade-off, isn't it, Knocker? You've got someone who is, for me, the silkiest fullback I've ever seen playing at Wolves. That guy's feet and his ability to cut inside or outside, it's like he's a forward. But we've seen him defend last year. We've seen him pocket Mo Salah. We've seen him pretty much stop Raheem Sterling. We know he can do it, but sometimes he looks a little bit casual and a bit relaxed about it when you can't afford to switch off. For me, I think the trade-off is worth it for what he can give. Yes, it's only Preston last night, but we saw him get forward. I mean, tremendous ball from Max. Again, we'll talk about that in a bit. But that trade-off, him getting forward, and I think last night was an example of the forwards going narrow, getting close to the striker, allowing the fullback space and going on. I think that's the plan. And I really like it. So, Nocky, is the trade-off worth sticking with him? Because we know what he can do going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to take his age into account as well. And I know sometimes it's a little bit of a cop-out, but players of his age will dip in and out of form. And I thought last season we were waxing lyrical about him defensively and what an improvement he was on Marcel and how solid we looked with him. And against Liverpool at home, like you say, we were absolutely fantastic for 93 minutes. We had to take him off because he had cramp. Hoover comes on, 20 seconds later, we've lost the match. So I don't think it's a concern. I think it is a process with players of his age that they will dip in and out of form. He's saying that though, I'm a big fan of Johnny. I think for me, would start games because he gives us that little bit more solidity and that little bit more of a football brain, I'd say. And in the situation we're in now, especially against Newcastle, when there's going to be some quick players running at him, I'd be playing Johnny there. But I think Aït-Nouri will be absolutely fine. Either he plays himself back into form or maybe he comes out the firing line, but he's too good to be playing the kind of football he's playing at the moment. So I do think it's just a blip.
Yeah, I think going forwards, he is going to be a big asset for Wolves this season. And I think that trade-off, I mean, he got a bit of credit back last night for obviously getting a really good assist, and he's got a poacher at the far post, which again, we've got not a fox in the box. Exactly, you've got someone who's timed his run there. Yes, it's Preston, but you can only beat what's in front of you. I like him, and I think in an attacking team that's settled with the likes of Kilman next to him, Nunes in front of him, and Guedes in front of him as well, I think he's only going to improve. And I personally think we stick with him. Johnny's not really made any mistakes, but he hasn't really been at it. He doesn't look like he's as comfortable at right back as he would be left back. So there is a way of saying, well, do we get Johnny and be more solid? But have we looked defensively weak in the game so far?
We haven't. I just think Johnny, I don't know what it is. I think he's almost like struggling a little bit with the demand of him going forward. Like you said, he's done nothing wrong and Knocker's right. Defensively, he's the better option. But when you see sort of, as you know, I've criticised Semedo for not having enough end product, but when he's come on and then last night, he sort of sets the benchmark, doesn't he, I think, for an athletic fullback that can go both ways. And I think Johnny's probably just lacking that forward piece. But then he got a couple of goals, didn't he, towards the back end of last season, so he can pop up in the right positions. It's a nice problem to have, isn't it? Three pretty good fullbacks that, you're happy if any of the two of the three are playing, aren't you, ultimately? But
yeah, we are. Even though it's only 3-2, we're kind of spoilt for choice a little bit, really, aren't we? Because there's three very good fullbacks there. I don't know if Luca Dean's the French fullback. Aït-Nouri can't be far behind, to be honest. Unless he decides to play for Algeria, I think instead he can play for. Apologies if I've got that incorrect, but I believe he's got a possibility to play for Algeria as well. Sticking on the Spurs game for now, I want to talk about Matheus Nunes and his debut. I was not disappointed at all. That guy has got a bit of everything. And he scored. I mean, I haven't really seen him score any headers, but he nearly scored a tremendous header when he flicked it. I think the keeper was beat a couple of inches the other way, and we're maybe talking about something different. But Knocker, that's a solid debut from a very good footballer. Yeah,
in a difficult place to make your debut as well on a team that are as good as Spurs. But I thought he looked very good in that midfield. I think he kept it simple to a point. I don't think he tried to overexert. I don't think we saw what we're going to get from him. I just think he was very, very solid. I think yesterday, which I know we're going to talk about, he came out of his shell a little bit more, but I think there's a phenomenal footballer in there. I think there's going to be a player there that we're going to really enjoy watching because he's clearly a talented lad. But yeah, the header was good. I mean, it was a centre forward's run to get in front of the defender. He's really unlucky. Keeper's beaten. Absolutely all ends up. But you can just see his culture. He's got that kind of continental flair about him where he's never under pressure. He's never panicked. He's always He's always looking around. He's always got an eye on where the ball's going to go. He knows everything around him. He's going to be a good footballer. He is. On a different note, Tyler, you're a mile down the road from me, so why does it look like you're at the Costa del Sol?
I don't know. It's not
pitch
sunny
black
outside,
here.
but it always does.
Different council tax, mate. You know what he's like.
Well, that's it, yeah.
You've got to pay his extra.
Mate, I've got them reflective things that, if I'm going to do this, I'll do it properly. So I'll get the lighting in the background.
Just on the opening 3 games, then. Obviously, we've only got 1 point, and if Wolves were unbeaten now, or they were on 5 points, nobody would say you didn't deserve that either. Because I don't recall Wolves playing badly this season. They played well in the I'd say they played well in the first half at Spurs, and then there was 2 mediocre performances elsewhere with little flashes here and there. There was multiple chances to beat Fulham. We probably could have done better for Dentonka scoring at half-time at Leeds. I mean, without being brilliant, again, Wolves could eat. I know this is we're going to say, but we're not. We could be on 6 or 7 points, and no one would say, "Oh, you don't deserve that." Did you agree or disagree with that?
At this level, though, it's irrelevant, isn't it? I mean, we play.
No, yeah. All I'm trying to do is put a bit of perspective in, because I know some people think we've been good. Some people say, no, it's a terrible start, but I'm not seeing any bad performances. I'm not seeing a cutting edge. I'm not seeing us being ruthless enough. I know we talked about it. I think that'll change with the number 9, but I don't think we've been that bad. I think, all those games have been toss of a coin for me.
It's been individual errors that have cost us. Yeah. It's been moments of switching off, moments of movement, moments of just not.
Wolves have not been second best in any of those games.
We haven't been second best, and I'm sure it will turn, and I think there'll be more to come in the transfer market. I think there'll be a few twists along the way as well. But no, we've not been poor. There's not one part of me thinks we need to hit the panic button and drop back to the 3. I'm comfortable with what we're doing. I just think we need that win. We just need to find a win from somewhere just to get the ball rolling, get the confidence back in the boys. We could do with a win with Jimenez scoring, because that kind of ticks a lot of boxes. I'm sure we'll be absolutely fine. If you look at the midfield, you look at the defence, and you look at what we potentially have up front, we're too good to be kind of languishing around the bottom, the bottom 6 or 7 of the league, in my opinion.
That's all it is, though. You're always a bit squeaky, aren't you, until you've got...
Of course, yeah. Until you start winning.
We were here last season where we played 3, lost 3, played well, so it is deja vu, isn't it? I do think Sunday is massive. If you're suddenly 4 games in, that then makes the next game massive. We've got Newcastle, Bournemouth, Southampton. We've got to be looking at 7 points, haven't we, minimum, realistically, if we want to achieve what we're looking for, which is, top 10 finish and progress. So I think it's a really, really big game. And you're right, a win just, you always feel better, don't you, after a win, and that's all we need, really. So, Sunday's big, isn't it?
I mean, you could almost argue that although Villa have won a game this season, we've almost had a better start, because the 2 they've lost. They've lost 2-0 to Bournemouth. They've lost 3-0 to Palace. There's more questions. The 3-1 to Palace, more questions than answers for them, I'd say. Whereas with us, you can see what we're doing. You can see as a plan. You can see where those pieces just need to fit to get us where we need to be. So, yes, we have been unlucky, and I know that we're all quite reactionary after the game. I'm terrible for it myself, but
really, I hadn't noticed.
As long as you can see what we're trying to do, then you can understand in what direction we're heading. And I'm not concerned. I think we'll be absolutely fine, but we've just got to find a way to win a football match.
Well, this is it. And I've said it after a few games, and I know we're all on here because we passionately love Wolverhampton Wanderers, and it sounds ridiculous, but it can make or break your day, your week, whatever. We love our football club. Yes, I am positive, and I've said it from the start. I can genuinely see a plan. I can see what he's trying to do, and now with these extra players in, I think he's got more of an opportunity to put the plan together. And I mean, Newcastle looked great last week. It's going to be a tough game, but they're going to come at us and give us a chance to go at them as well, which I think which will suit Wolves, and it should be a good game for the neutral, but hopefully a good game for Wolverhampton Wanderers. But I can see a plan. I can see Neves tucking in and being the quarterback. The fullbacks are getting high. They're almost like wing backs, but we've just got rid of a sweeper and put him as a number 10 or a forward. Guedes is going to be direct. Just before we move on, I want to talk about Neto then. Tyler, we've talked about Neto quite a bit, and you have as well, Knocker. Just your take on the Neto situation, Tyler, the links, the money, and his performance so far this season. Where
do you start? His performance is bang average for me. I mean, I know Knocker, you've not always been his biggest fan. You know, I think you've always said he's a little bit hyped up, and I tend to agree with you slightly. Seems to have lost that killer yard of pace he had, or, you know, that 2 yards, maybe really got ahead of his fullback. Haven't really seen him take a man on, beat him, get a good shot and get to the byline. Nice piece of skill at Leeds, wasn't there? But then he tried a shot with his right foot where a pass was a better option. You know, if you hear what you see is about £50 million being touted, I think I'd be pretty tempted to cash in. And that might not go down well with a lot of Wolves fans, but that's why I said I was quite surprised when you were playing him on Sunday in your team. So I haven't seen enough from him this season. His stats back that up. He averages 1 in 9, 1 in 10 for Wolves. It's not enough, is it?
What I would say though about Neto is, and I know you didn't agree on this before, but that player before he got injured looked like he was going places. He was quick. Now, hopefully, more games will bring that sharpness back, because he had a terrible injury, a huge surgery, and there's only thing that one gets you fit, and that's playing football. So you only really find yourself fully when you're regularly playing football. Hopefully, we get that again, and I do believe this is true with the likes of many of the players. If a players are playing in a defensive team, they're not going to get a chance to shine. Neto's an entertainer. Drag backs, touches, screamers. That's his game. That's what he wants to do. The goal at Southampton example, when he sent Vestergaard to the shops, cutting inside, sweeping in, that's the player we have. If we play attacking football with someone like Pedro Neto, finding the old Pedro Neto form, 50 million for me is just the very beginning of the conversation. Yes, we have to see more of that, and we've not seen it. If we can find that form again and we're playing attacking football, if he's feeding off A9 or Jimenez or potentially another number 9, I think there's a lot to come there. Your thoughts, Knocker?
I mean, I don't want to sell him, because I do think potentially there's an absolutely top draw football there. But I also think if you look at it from a kind of a bigger picture, and we had this kind of conversation with Cody, you can get very romantic about football. We have to look at our goal scoring record, and we don't score goals. So sometimes you've got to rip the whole script up and start again. And, you know, if you look at the 3 players that we played against Spurs, Neto's probably the weaker. I thought Guedes looked like the stronger of the 3, and that's his first start for Wolves. So, yes, he's coming back from an injury, but in his best season he had for Wolves, he got 6 goals. So he's not providing...
Can I just jump in there, Knocker? 6 goals in a very defensive team. Yeah,
but Timo Pukki got 10 in a dreadful team.
In the worst team.
Got 9 of them against Wolves, didn't he?
Exactly, yeah. And he could have had a hat-trick that day. So it's not always about the formation you play, because in every game you're going to get chances, and it's about whether you can put them in the net. And we are missing a lot of chances. And I was happy for Gibbs-White to go. I wouldn't be happy for Neto to go, but I think that there is a conversation to be had about where do we find the goals, because we can keep playing the 3 that we've got. We can keep trying to find that. We keep talking about we're more attacking, we're doing this. Well, we're not managing a lot of shots.
Let's just go back to my point again. And apologies for repeating myself. We haven't started a game with a striker yet, a proper number 9. Yes, we're not sure if Jimenez can find the old Jimenez, but that's an international footballer who only a year and a half ago was one of the most complete number 9s in the Premier League. He's had a life-changing injury. He's lucky to be having a normal life, never mind playing football. In pre-season, someone put a message up then. In his last 3 starts, he scored 3 goals. That's the ratio. I'm more than happy with that. I'm not guaranteeing Wolves will win on Sunday, but what I will see is I think Jimenez have a bigger impact, and I think Guedes will definitely try and feed off him, as will Neto or Podence, depending which one. And I also think Nunes as well, driving forward with the ball, someone he can play into his feet and feed off. I just think our attacking stats will improve with a 9. And yes, I'm happy with the transfer window now, but you have to sort of look and think, well, why hasn't this been done earlier? Because it probably has cost us a couple of points. I know you didn't answer the question in the end, Nocky, but I genuinely believe a fit Jimenez starting the season, I think Wolves are on a minimum of 3 points. I think they're in a better position than they are now.
Yeah, and you may well be right, but the fact is, if he plays against Newcastle, I don't think we get 90 minutes out of him, so we're still going to have the same situation at some point.
But it's better than having no minutes. But it's just, yes, yeah, I know what you're saying, and you're right.
We're a professional Premier League side with aspirations to be in Europe, so we shouldn't even be having this conversation. I mean, Silva going out, I think, was the right decision if we replace him. Now, I was hoping we'd have a centre forward in by the time we play Newcastle, that's obviously not going to happen now unless something dramatic happens in the next sort of 24, 48 hours. So we shouldn't even be in this situation. But, we're not going to get 90 minutes out of Jimenez. He's going to be up against much better players against Newcastle. So if it doesn't work, what do we do then? Because Hwang's the only real option to come into that position. Or we bring Adama on and switch Yildiz into that number 9 position, which I don't really think will work. So, yeah, I get your point. We will be better with the number 9, but the fact is we haven't got a number 9 at this moment who we can fully rely on, for 90 minutes, and we can't rely on him to get us 10 goals either. So we're in a position where we need
I think
to improve.
Jimenez played most of the game last night, so there is a chance he lasts the 90. I think last night was a lot about fitness for him and also getting more minutes into Martinez's belt, because when he's fit, Wolves tick. We've spent 30 minutes talking on that game, and we could probably do more. Let's move on to last night's game. Now, obviously, Wolves won 2-1 in the end. It should have been a lot more comfortable. The penalty has enraged a lot of people on this podcast, particularly the gentleman at the bottom. The Wolves had 65% possession, 19 shots, 10 on target, 7 corners. It was a pretty dominant performance that in reality should have been dead and buried at half-time. Christopher Tyler.
I was going to have to talk about the penalty. It's disgraceful. I'm sorry. It is so unprofessional. It's not a charity. What we're doing? We're 2-0 up. You've just talked about Raul, how he needs confidence, he needs goals. Nice gesture of him, but where's the ruthlessness there? I said to you both, imagine Kane or Salah doing that. Or we're 2-0 up. Imagine Harry Kane giving a penalty to someone else. That's what world class, that's what top class strikers do. You don't give it to someone else. I'd go as far to fine him. I think it's that bad. It's unprofessional. Nice. That's the negative. Positive, he got his goal.
This was Tyler on WhatsApp this morning.
And what about it as well? That stupid celebration. I know I'm being seen as miserable, and people saying it's
that's why you're here, son. Yeah, son. Let's zoom in on the misery.
Focus on the game. Get your goals. Get your penalty. Put it in the back of the net. 3-0 at half time, then, and then it probably is 4 or 5, and then it's squeaky bum time. Second half, isn't it? Preston missed basically an open goal to level the game, and then you're at a penalty shootout. So jokes aside, we're having a laugh and a joke about it now, right? Like you said, because we won the game and we got through. But for me, it was totally unprofessional. Should have taken the penalty, put the game dead and buried, and then you make substitution second half and the game goes how Puna wants it to. But the positive is, I'm trying to be positive, the main thing is he scored. And nice for Traore to get a goal as well. He took it well, didn't he? So still question marks about him and whether or not he wants to be here, but I thought his application was pretty good and he took his goal very well.
Now, you can probably see in the bottom left-hand corner, Alex Richards has joined us. Now, the lads were saying before, Alex, you're late because you're trying to break Wolves signing a new striker or a new player. Can you confirm or deny that this is the case?
If it's my son trying to go to bed, then yeah. Wolves trying to sign a new striker. They could do it one, but whether they get one through is another matter, isn't it, I think?
We've just been talking about, we missed the Spurs analysis, but we've been talking about the Preston game last night, and I can see on social media that, I showed these guys my bet last night, and I had Wolves -2, Jimenez to score, and Wolves to have more corners. 10 quid turns it into 120 quid. I see the penalty, and then I'm like, you what, mate? So yeah, just your take on the professionalism for the penalty, because if this is 95 minutes gone and it's 3-0, you can let the keeper take it as far as I care. But it's not even half time. You've not won the game yet. For me, Raul's been a bit too nice, as just echoing what Chris said. Alex?
Yeah, 100%. I think I can understand it, because you've got a guy in Hwang who, he's meant to be a goal scorer, probably low on confidence, hasn't scored in a fair old while now. I can understand you giving your mate, get yourself on track, get yourself off the mark, that kind of thing. But as you say, it's 2-0.
There's a time and a place, isn't there?
As you say, it's 2-0. You're not even at half time. You're looking at it and you're going to yourself, well, if he misses, they feel a bit emboldened by it. And as we saw, they get themselves back in the game and they had chances to equalise. So the game was far from over. I think it's one of those things in the moment. I think Bruno has spoken about it afterwards that Jimenez probably should have taken the penalty himself, and that was that. I dare say it won't happen again anytime soon.
But in reality, though, I don't know, Chris has been absolutely raging about this. I couldn't even repeat some of the things on the group chat, but it's good to learn a lesson when it actually hasn't cost us, because Jimenez being over nice. Well, it's a professional game. This isn't a charity match, as you mentioned as well, Knocker. So Wolves have got to be more ruthless than that. And is that something in this team or squad, Alex, that we're just not spiteful enough, not ruthless enough? Is that something that's been missing for a few years?
I think if you look at it, since Diogo Jota left, they've lost a lot of spite. Let's be quite frank about it. We loved him because he was a nasty little shit. He would run through defenders, he would niggle, he would do whatever was necessary to get to that goal. You don't see the same urgency, the same kind of fight to get a goal from the players that are there now. We've got a lot of nice footballers, but how many of them are that direct, that determined to get in where it hurts, shall we say, and get your scrappy tapping and your scrappy 6-yard goals? How many of them hit the 6-yard box? When Jimenez isn't there, not many.
Well, hopefully Geddes is a lot more direct, isn't he? He's strong, he's mobile, he's quick, he can score with both feet. I think I don't know, Knocker loves this as bringing up old players, but the Jota-esque kind of player that we're missing. I'm so glad Knocker doesn't live close to me because he can't stand this. But let's try and pull some positives from last night. Wolves have won and they're through the cup. And they probably should be with their team they put out. But Knocker, something that hasn't really been picked up enough for me is the 2 assists come from the fullbacks. This is what Bruno's trying to do, isn't he? This is surely the brand. Get them fullbacks up high. I know a few teams do it. I know particularly Liverpool have done it to an enormous amount of success. I mean, we haven't quite got the quality of delivery of those fullbacks, but that's the plan, isn't it? Get the forwards narrow, pull some space, get the fullbacks up. Great assist and touch from Semedo. I don't know if he miscontrolled it the first time, but the second touch wasn't so bad, and Traore's finish was good. And Ait Nouri with a sweet run, great through ball from Max, far post. So, yeah, in terms of positivity, that's what we're looking to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the movement from the fullbacks was impressive. And I think when we've got the quality in midfield that we've got, then we're going to be able to create those opportunities in those spaces. And there was a beautiful turn from Nunes. I don't know if you've seen it. And he turns, pirouettes, gets away from 3 defenders and just breaks into midfield. And I think if you've got players with kind of the urgency and the application and Ait Nouri and Semedo have got, you're going to find yourself in those places. And Adama's goal sensational. I think that's when Adama's at his best, when he hasn't got any time to think about it.
He scored in his best season. He scored a few like that. No time to think.
Yeah.
Bang.
Just hit it.
Yeah.
Because I think he's missed that many that when he starts thinking about it, he thinks he's going to miss it. Whereas when it's just dropping down, it's instinct. It's just wallop straight off.
I mean, that's his weak foot. That's some finish. I mean, we've got someone here that's got a hat trick in Paris playing football on the show. So he knows all about the finishing. Hungry Like the Wolf has made a really good point. Yes, it's only Preston. You say it's only Preston, but they haven't conceded a goal in the Championship this year, although they're not scoring. So that is a positive from a very stubborn team that haven't conceded in 270 minutes. So, but you can only beat what's in front of you. Again,
it is a positive, but I mean...
You're clutching there, son, for positive.
Yeah, I mean,
they made 9 changes.
That's what I'm here for.
If Jimenez takes that penalty and scores and we go 3 up, we maybe finish that game 4, 5, 6, and the confidence is absolutely booming going into the Newcastle game. I think you could feel that the second he hit that penalty, and I'm loath to say he even hit the penalty, he basically rolled it back to the goalkeeper, but you could feel the atmosphere just drop. Everything went flat. And that's where the issues are. It was a chance. When you're 2-0 up and you're cruising and you're thinking this is an opportunity to really get some goals here, really get us working for the Newcastle game, get a few of the players on the score sheet, get your wide attackers on the score sheet, get your midfielders coming through. Instead, we put ourselves in a position, because Jimenez was too nice, where we've won a game, but we're all still a little bit frustrated, even though we're through to the next round. I don't know whether that's a little bit harsh to be frustrated about it, but I just think that the performance and especially in the first half, deserved a better result or a better scoreline than that, I'd say.
I mean, earlier on in the show, Alex, before you were doing your fatherly duties, there seems to be a pattern of Wolves playing quite well in the first half, and then whether they're running out of gas or are they frustrated because they've not scored. But as usual, I'm trying to pull some positives. The first half performances away at Spurs last night, there's promising signs going forward, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the first half performance at Leeds was quite good as well. There was obviously moments when they gave chances away, but they created chances. To be really, really, and this is very negative, the Traore goal last night is a goal out of absolute nothing. And that isn't the sort of goal that you are going to see a team score regularly. Wolves don't really you see Man City play, and Man City sort of escape the same goal time and time again.
Yeah, over and over. It's beautiful.
Little ball in between a centre half and a full back. Man runs round, cut back, tapping. They score that goal religiously because they drill it into them. They work on it time and time again. Liverpool score a lot of very similar goals in the movement of Salah, the way Alexander-Arnold will tuck in, the way Robertson will get around the back. Wolves don't really have kind of a move that you could say, oh, that's a goal Wolves score regularly. You know,
under Nuno we had the classic counter. We did have that identity, but because Bruno wasn't backed really the first year, now this is more his team. Is it a bit soon to describe what will be a Wolves goal until he's got his full 11 out there?
I don't think so. He's had 12 months. It's work on a training ground, regardless of who your players are. I think the one I would go back to with Nuno is you always saw that crossfield ball. Matt Doherty runs off the ball around a fullback, and then Doherty's suddenly in on goal, and he's either got somebody that he can knock it down to, or he's going for goal himself. You know, he didn't always score, obviously, but you had that kind of thing. It's something that comes with repetition of a training ground, and I think that, yes, of course, it's easier to do it when you have players like City have who are worth X amount of money doing it week in, week out, and they will just get it, and they are far more clinical. Wolves don't have that clinical players. Everything Wolves do in the final third always feels a little bit off the cuff. Which going back to the Traore goal, as you mentioned, is it a bad touch from Semedo? Well, yeah, the first one isn't it? It's clever. I can see my mate. Let's tee him up, and he gets a great strike away. Wolves don't really score those goals in that way. You can't rely on a worldie each week. Is the thing.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think you're right. I'm going to back you out. So I think you're right in what you say about you are seeing the patterns of playing, the style he wants to bring in. And I think the first goal last night is that we had a very similar moment against Fulham.
Well, that was a kind of Man City goal, wasn't it? That was.
I think that's what he wants. Yeah, two footballing centre backs. They can both carry the ball.
Great ball from Max.
The fullback makes the run, crosses it. They did the same when Morgan Gibbs-White put it over the bar. For Fulham, it was pretty much an identical move. Ball into Aït-Nouri, crossed across the box, back post, tapping. So I do think that's the goal that he wants us to get to, and the style of play that I think he's trying to move towards, because you have seen it in glimpses. It's having the players that can do it. You need that stripe at the back post who can put the ball in the net.
My worry there is that you've got that is based around a centre back playing a ball to a left back.
Cutting out the whole midfield.
You're not always going to have that time.
Cutting out your whole midfield and cutting and what are your forward guys? Jimenez is there for the tapping, but what are your wide forwards? Where exactly are they? How are they involved? When we saw at Spurs at the weekend, other than chances on the counter, where you've broken through on Spurs and you've broken through on the back line, and everything's got to be quick and you can't think about it. When it's okay, there's a little bit of possession, but the opposition is stacked defensively and is in their shape. What are Wolves trying to do? Everything's a little bit nice. It's very clever. It's very technical. But the amount of shots we have from 25 yards, pot shots, rather than can you play that last pass? Can you get that ball in the box? Can you really hurt a team? They seem to take the shot on. Just hope more than anything else.
Want to get your opinion on this. I know I've talked about it with Nocky and Tyler already. I personally think when Jimenez comes in now, he starts, or if another number 9 comes in, I think this is going to be able to take Wolves up the pitch. Then they don't have to get to the final third, pass it back to the fullback, start again, because then they've got someone to play into feet. They've got a target, as we saw last night at the far post. I know I'm not really putting my neck out, but I genuinely believe playing with a proper number 9 in this team is going to give Wolves. It's going to improve our XG. It's going to improve our output. I really think when Jimenez starts on Sunday, I'm not guaranteeing the win, but I think we'll see Wolves go up at another level. Would you agree?
Absolutely. If your number 9 is bang at it, then absolutely, because Podence is a lovely footballer, but he's not your focal point of your attack. He just can't be. I think what Bruno Lage wants to do, and again, it's a very wide comparison, but with Man City, how Man City plays is when they've got the ball and push on. Wolves will do this in a different way, but Man City will have their 2 centre-backs, their holding midfielder, and they took their full-backs in to basically create a 2 and a 3. Wolves look like they're going to attempt to do that with your 2 centre-backs and your 3 central midfielders. And then your full-backs are bombing on. Your wingers should really be getting closer to your centre-forward. But starting in a 4-3-3 formation, I think they look much more comfortable playing 4-3-3 than they did playing 4-2-3-1 with 4 attacking players. They're more controlled with Matheus.
The control at Spurs, we talked about it earlier on. The control at Spurs for me was, other than the goal, it was a thoroughly entertaining, enjoyable half of football. I mean, we're flying by, so let's get a couple of questions on board. And this one I'll start this off. This is an absolute cracker from Pat. More of a discussion point. The increasing ticket prices season after season has diluted the traditional match fan. Its detrimental impact on the atmosphere. Are we in danger of being clappers, popcorn revenue? Discuss. It's a great point. Now, I mean, ticketing, it's always going to go up, but is it hard to argue with the tickets going up if they're signing likes of Nunes and Guedes? We moaned at the start of the season, but just your take on this, Knocker. What's your take on our Wolves? Because we went to Leeds at the start of the season. We both said, annoyingly, this is really good. This is what we used to sound like. Their home end is horrible. That's how it should be. Little bit jealous, not really trying to praise Leeds, but it was good. But yeah, we seem a little bit flat now, don't we? Great question, Pat, by the way. Knocker?
Yeah, I think it kind of comes with the territory, doesn't it? I think after a while in the Premier League, you do get diluted. If you go to Anfield, it's more tourist now than it is Scousers, and I think it's part of the game, unfortunately. And if Leeds have long enough in here, you'll probably see that go the same way. It's the Premier League. It's a competition that everyone around the world wants to see. So people want to come across as a tourist attraction. So I think in this division, you're always going to get that. It's not nice, and it's not something you want to see. You want to have that intense atmosphere that we've seen at Molineux. I'm thinking the FA Cup quarter-final against Man United, the games we've had against the Albion in the past, but it's part of the territory, unfortunately.
Just going to you, Chris, quickly on that one before I move on to the next one. What can we do to change it? What can we do to change that? Because the cup quarter-final against Man United at Molineux, I mean, I've been going a long time. I've never heard anything like that. It was nothing short of, I mean, it's making the hairs on my arm stand up just thinking about it. That night was phenomenal. Yes, you can't expect that every week. That's just unsustainable because of the excitement. But what do we do to get the atmosphere back? Our Leeds are in danger next year of losing it. I don't think they'll lose their edge. I don't know why. It's just got that feel about it. It's not nice. And it should motivate the away end. But for me, I mean, yeah, just what can we do to change it?
I don't know. I'm not a commercial or marketing expert, but I do think there's a factor about what you're seeing on the pitch as well. And I think any Wolves fan that's been a season ticket holder for the last 2 years hasn't got value for money. Whether you look at home form, the amount of matches they've won at home, the amount of goals they've scored at home, that's not been good enough. You talk about Leeds, and we went last season, Ryan, and you're dead right. It was spiteful. But we've also all been to Leeds when they had 18,000 there. And there was
Jay Bothroyd.
Exactly. It cycles, isn't it? It comes around. Home match tickets, upwards of 40, 45, 50 pounds. They're going to put, without sounding a bit rude, your local Wolverhampton chap who works 9 to 5 every day off going to football, but it just prices them out. They can't do that on a consistent basis. And because of the success and the season ticket holders being able to renew and hold on to them, where does it go?
It's a bit of a vicious circle, isn't it?
It is. How does that old school fan get in? They can't, mate. And you
can't change it. Sorry, Chris. You can't change it in this league. If we get relegated, then the club needs you again then. Whereas in this league, they don't really need you.
Lads, I can't afford to run this podcast if we get relegated. It's gone.
If you don't want your ticket because you think it's too watered down, no problem, because there's another couple of thousand on the waiting list who'll have that ticket from you. So in this division, it's not gonna change. If we were to get relegated, then I think you'll see a little bit of a swing. You'll see some of the so-called legacy fans coming through the doors again. You'll see people who've been priced out of it coming back in because you have to drop your season ticket prices. You'll see people who've come for the last few seasons who've maybe, I don't want to say jumped on the bandwagon, because if you want to support Wolves, then welcome aboard kind of thing. But you're going to see people who want to watch the Premier League football, they want to see the superstars come to Molineux, they're going to disappear, and you'll start getting that kind of hardcore back. But while we're in this division, it's not going to get better; it'll get worse.
Mm-hmm.
Nice one. Thank you. I'm going to put this next one to Alex. This is a really good question. Mike Allen asks, in a season where 5th to 8th looks close, obviously talking about Wolves, how poor is it that we may not get fully going potentially until 5 or 7 games in because of incomings and outgoings? I mean, just to get that one rolling, Alex, Villa signed a load of players before anything had happened, and it's not really worked out that for them. What's your take on not having a full squad before the season starts, and especially not having a number 9? Thanks for your question, Mike Allen.
I think, well, obviously, ideally, you want your squad ready for pre-season, but this is the world. It doesn't happen that way. Now, your question is, do you demand that you sign your players in preparation for the start of the season? And you maybe have to decide, okay, Matheus Nunes is my number 1 target, but I can't get him up that date. So I go on to my secondary target or my 3rd target. Wolves obviously didn't want to do that. So they waited, and it's paid off, and you get your player. Okay, he's not there for the first 2 games. You have to weigh it up. Is he going to help you win more points over the remaining 36 games than a lesser player would over 38?
That's a really good point.
Now, we can all sit here and argue yes or no on the fact, but it's just that's where the club and the manager are at. They wanted him. He was the midfield target they wanted, the number 1. They were willing to wait. They knew the situation that he was going to look for bigger clubs to possibly come in, and that didn't happen. And there you are. You've got him. You know, they're in a situation. A couple of months ago, they could have signed Jalpalinia because they thought a Ruben Neves replacement. Now you wait and you wait. Neves doesn't go anywhere, so you let him go to Fulham. They could have pushed the gun on that, and we could be sitting here now looking at a midfield of Palhinha, Neves, and Matinho. Do you prefer that to having Nunes now?
No, absolutely not. I mean, there's not a lot of legs in that midfield getting forward, is there? You mentioned it there. I mean,
Nunes, he's a very good player.
Oh, he's a very good player, but as you said though, it is worth the wait. It's a great question from Mike though. I think that just get your take on this. We've talked about it previously, but what I don't understand is the Fabio Silva situation, because we equally have.
We disagree on this, I know.
We have until the 1st of. I mean, I've probably sent you some unpleasantries on WhatsApp about this as well, but we have until the 1st of September to decide if we're going to loan Fabio out. I don't know if the loan market goes a bit longer. I'll be guessing, but I believe it's the same cut-off on the 1st of September. So why on earth? Because I think Fabio would have had an impact. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I'll never know. We'll never know. But why not wait until you've got a number 9 in, Raul's fit, and then you go, Fabio, you can go to Andex or somewhere else. Fabio Silva would not have had a shortage of takers. Absolutely not. There's no way people wouldn't have been in other.
Would he have had the taker they wanted? The taker that's going to play expansive football, that's going to play the way Wolves want him to be exposed to, playing in a team that's going to create him chances. Obviously, that's what they saw in Anderlecht, and they thought, okay, that's where it's best for you to develop this season. You know, it'd be great if there was a time period of, okay, we can wait until September 1st, but you have to look at it and say, if he doesn't go now, they will move on to another target, which they probably would have done. I disagree with you that he would have had a big impact in the early days of the season. I'm not necessarily sure he was.
Well, I'm not saying would have had a big impact, but I think he would have done better than having no number 9 at all. And I think his strongest point is his link play, his one touch. He's someone that's got a good relationship with Podence. When them two play together, I think there's chemistry. That was my point.
I think it is, but I also think that I've seen more in the goals he has scored on loan in terms of his movement in the penalty area than I ever actually saw while he was playing for Wolves and just getting 15 and 20 minutes here and there. It was doing nothing for the kid, you know.
Yeah, it's a strange one though, isn't it? It's because I do feel frustrated. I think he could have had an impact, and who knows? But again, hindsight, it's just. But this sort of moves on now. Knocker, you can have this one into Greg. Thanks for your question and contribution as always. We've needed a striker for 2 seasons, so why and how are we struggling for one after 4 games into the season, especially as we are in a position to be giving up points? Kind of finishing off on what we said there, Knocker. But it's as Alex said, if it's going to be worth the wait. We'll find out, won't we? A week today. We've got 7 days left. We'll find out a week today if it's worth the wait, Knocky. But are you feeling like it's worth the wait now?
I think Alex makes a really good point, because if we sat here with Jalpolino, we're not going to get out of him what we're going to get out of Nunes over the next, hopefully, 3 or 4 seasons. So if they've got a target in mind, and we're after that lad from Stuttgart, we're after him from. Apparently he scores lots of goals and he looks a decent player. So if that's the target that they're after and they're willing to wait it out and he comes in and makes an impact, then happy days. But I'm sort of with you. I wouldn't have sent Fabio out until we had that replacement in, because I just think, no, he probably wouldn't have started games, but would he have had an opportunity to come on from the bench and impact games? Could he have come on at Leeds and create a little bit of movement for us there when we were completely out on our feet in the last sort of 15, 20 minutes? But it's hard to argue with the transfer policy, because it's taken us to back-to-back 7-plate finishes, and as we said last week, our worst ever Premier League finish was higher than anything we'd ever achieved in this division before since it turned to the Premier League. So you've got to keep your powder dry a little bit, I think, till the 1st of September. But if we haven't got a striker in by then I do think there needs to be questions asked.
I've been wrong before, but I'm very confident. Just a quick word on the striker, Alex. Obviously, you're the football professional. I don't know. Do you have an opinion? I mean, his stats look good. Linked with Dortmund, linked with Munich, Man United linked as well. Doesn't look like the kindest on the eye in terms of being a 6'6", 6'7". No offense, Tyler, footballer. But his stats look good. Is that someone that can complement these players that we have?
He gives me Stefan Meyer.
Don't say it. I knew you were going to say that.
It really does. Okay, he's a big guy. He'll give you someone in the box who can score goals. My kind of worry is that he had an injury last season. He scored 6 goals in half a season, 15 games, 16 games. So he does know where the net is. The season before, he scored 16 in a full season. As we've seen with players that come back from an injury,
is that a good number though in a struggling team in the Bundesliga?
I think so. I think 2020-21 is 16 in the season is very good. I think 6 in half a season, and he's had a knock or whatever, it isn't so good. Now, if they're going for him and your plan is that he's going to lead your line, you're going to swing crosses into him, you're going to play off him. All right, great. If your plan is that you're going to get a big 6'7" guy and you want to press religiously and you want to be pushing teams back and you want him harrying and chasing defenders, not really sure a 6'7" guy is really of the build and the mobility that you want. But I think the other point on buying a striker is that Raul Jimenez is the number 9. He's the centre forward that Bruno Lage and that the board want to be the main man, and they want him to get back to where he was pre-injury, and they are willing to give him the time to do that. So anyone that you're attempting to buy, effectively, you have to say to them, okay, you're probably looking at being second choice for the first however long.
But that's a good thing. If we buy a player for, let's say we pay 20 million for him, and he's second choice for the season, it means Raul's had a good season. So I'm all for it, because, and I'm not saying Raul always tries his best, and that guy leaves everything out on the pitch, but he's got no one pressing him. When he's got someone pressing him now, but not only that, we can protect Raul. So another striker coming in, you can look after Raul a bit more. He's 31, which isn't particularly old in football terms these days, but after a long layoff, when you've got the opportunity to protect somebody in football now, someone with the potential of Jimenez, if he can find himself again, I think just signing someone of that calibre is massive, Alex.
But there aren't many high caliber international quality strikers who will come to your club and say, okay, I'll sit and back up that guy. Now you might get one and he'll turn around and go, all right, I'm up for the fight. I'll shift him out. I'll take that place.
That's exactly what we want.
But if you look at, I bring it to Spurs and how they have tried so hard for so long.
It's a bit hard with Kane, isn't it?
Exactly, because Harry Kane's the guy. Now it's a different level, but if you come to Wolves, Raul Jimenez is the guy. And you've got to displace him, and clearly he is the preferred centre forward there at the moment. So to say that I don't want to sound like I'm defending the club on this too much, but to say that the club, how have they not got a striker in? It's a difficult market to try and persuade someone to come. Now, if you do go and get whether it's him, whether it's someone else, and you pay X million for them, fair enough. Well done. Let's see how things go. Hopefully, it all works out for the best. It's a hard sell, I think, to get a proper high quality striker when you're only playing one up front. And I don't want to say that you're not guaranteeing him games, because you can never really guarantee a new signing anything. But to say to him, look, for the time being, you're going to be number 2 and you've got to battle and work for it. A lot of them are going to go, well, how much do you actually want me?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Just one more thing before I move on to the last question, which I'll take. The Wolves have been linked to a player from Ajax today, talking about a season-long loan. Do you know much about him, Alex? I mean, he looks like, from the research that I have done, he looks quite highly rated. I mean, how feasible is it that we could get a season-long loan? I don't know how true that article is, but it's certainly nice to be linked to someone of his ability.
I know that the word seems to be that he will only go if they don't sell the Brazilian lad to Man U.
Right, okay, which seems likely. And
that seems to be growing in Man United, paying another extortionate amount for someone. I think the figure today that was coming out was that they've got to go above 85 million for the kid. Now,
playing in the Dutch league.
Wow. That's purely going on.
I don't feel like we got enough for Gibbs White in that case.
That's purely going on what their manager wants, isn't it? That's their manager who's already. He knows the Dutch league and he's picking players from there that he thinks can adapt.
Interesting, but is he someone though that could make a difference to Wolves? Because he looks strong, he looks quite quick, he looks like a decent footballer. I'm not sure if he's a number 9. He's more of a forward than a 9. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, he's more of another guy that likes to come in from a flank rather than playing straight through the middle, which we have an abundance of. But obviously, that I think there's also a kind of a dependence on, well, how many of our guys are still at the club when the transfer window closes.
Yeah, I mean, as I tweeted earlier on, I don't have any knowledge on this. It's just my opinion. And I know you agree with this, Tyler, as well. I think we're going to see a few twists and turns that we just aren't expecting, both in and out. I'm just speculating. That's not knowledge. I'm just saying what I think. Last question I'll take then before we move on to the Newcastle game. Fraser asks, do you think we miss back 5, Cody? The system looks vulnerable to me, less of control. I personally massively disagree. I think without scoring the goals, I think Wolves have been, in comparison to last year, a breath of fresh air. That's without scoring goals. I think we look more ambitious. I do think we've controlled the game more. I think we've limited sides to very few opportunities, and as Knocker and Tyler said earlier on, I think most of the goals that Wolves conceded it's been self-inflicted, really, that we could have done something about it, not so much from brilliant play. But again, Fraser, I might be wrong, you might be right, but for me, no, I think moving to a 4, we have to sort of, get out of our nappies and get our big boy pants on and just crack on with the 4 now. We're here. I think keeping Cody would have always left the opportunity for media fans to say, oh, we wouldn't have lost that if we played 5 at the back and Cody. I think that's why it was important for Cody to go, as well as for Cody to get his World Cup. So, yeah, thank you for your question there, Fraser. Right, we have the small matter of Wolverhampton Wanderers v Newcastle United on Sunday at 2:00. Watching last week, I was thinking, my dream team's looking good here. De Bruyne, Haaland, Cancelo. I'm thinking it's going to be a good week, this, for me. And then Man City turn into Madrid from the 90s, late 90s. I'm like, who is this side? They look rejuvenated, don't they? This is going to be a tough game. Just going around and Knocker, starting with you. Just give me your take ahead of the Newcastle game. What are you going to do? You personally, by the way. I don't know that.
I mean, personally, I'll put Semedo on the right and move Johnny back to the left. I don't think he'll do that. I think he'll stick pretty similar to what he's done so far. I think Raul will start. My suspicion is it's probably going to be for Podence. I think he'll keep Neto in because I think he may send out the wrong messages if he was to drop him. So it's a really difficult game. They look a good team, Newcastle, and a little bit worried about this one.
Tyler,
you sound terrified, son.
Great. I mean, Knocker's the second most positive person here, so I'm a little bit concerned. Tyler, no, let's just ruin it before Alex fixes it all.
No, you're going to fall off your chair. I don't know why. I've got that sneaky that we're going to be okay.
Oh my God, we need to zoom in on this one then.
I've got no reason or method to the madness. I disagree with Knocker. I think Semedo will come in. I think he'll start right back. Jimenez will come in. There's obviously no question about that. Where does it start? Like you said, I think the big question point is that the second wide forward, is that Podence, is that Neto? Probably won't be Adama, but he's thrown his hat into the ring if he wants to. Don't know.
It
was a free hit. I said to you, playing Man City at home is a free hit for everybody. It's a different game. They haven't got Callum Wilson. They're not. I'm sorry, they're still not that good a side for me, and they're certainly not a side to be feared. We showed what we could do against Tottenham first half. If it's a similar level of performance, and you've been telling me for the last hour, Ryan, with a striker up front, it's going to be different. So I'm going into it fairly positively, because I don't really know why, but I am. I think it's a game that we could nick by the odd goal.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing the win, but I do think we'll see Wolves perform a different level with a number 9. I think Raul offers you the option at the far post with the runs he makes. I think Guedes is someone that really likes to feed off a striker, be fed through, getting in behind the forward. I think we'll see a bit of that. Alex, your take ahead of the Newcastle game?
I think the first 50 minutes is probably as good as Newcastle will play all season against City. They're not going to match that week in, week out.
I hope not.
They went to Brighton the previous week and were
got battered.
Battered. It's one of the biggest 0-0 batterings you'll ever see. So if we get that Newcastle, then I would be hopeful and confident that Wolves will have enough about them to take a chance, take 2, come away with a win. I think you've got to keep St. Maximin locked down. Almiron seems to always have a good game when he plays against us.
Fast, isn't he? Busy.
Don't really know why. Chris Wood's going to looks like play up front, and he always seems to have a good game against us. There's that, but obviously Callum Wilson's a big loss to them.
Well, in terms of mobilities, because he can get in behind quickly, Wood offers a different kind of threat. Hat-trick 2 years ago, but dominated last season. For me, it's a really interesting game. I'm looking forward to it. I'm also absolutely delighted to be co-commentary for BBC WM on Saturday. For anyone that's not watching, I'm sure you are, but I'm delighted to be working for BBC WM the weekend and doing co-coms on that. If any of you would like to listen, if not, enjoy the game on Sky. But massive game. I'm excited about it. I think Jimenez makes the difference. Let's go around, get your first score and predictions before we sign off. Nocky, you got the biggest smile out there. Let's start with you, Nocky.
Oh, I fancied a draw, to be fair. I think Charlie showed me a little bit with his positivity. I'm gonna get 2-1 to Wolves. Nunes with a rocket.
Oh, get in there. I'll have some of that. Tyler?
Yeah, I was going to say the same. 2-1. And you've been telling me we're going to be a different team with Jimenez in it. So
no pressure on me then.
Yeah.
I don't want you phoning the radio afterwards, and I'm in all kinds of trouble.
We'll all be fine.
BBC WM must be absolutely desperate as well. By the way, is everyone on holiday? What's happened there?
There
must be a lot of holidays this weekend.
Crikey.
Well, at least I know they asked me over Alex anyway, so that's a start for me anyway, isn't it? So, Alex, your take on the game then. First score and prediction, please.
I think it'd be a kiss of death here, but I think it'd be high scoring. I think I'll go 3-2, and I'll go for Guedes to get the opener.
Rerun of the FA Cup.
Yeah, I think it'll be a pretty open. They won't come.
George and Dar available.
they won't come and sit back.
It's the last goal we scored at Molyneux, isn't it?
It feels like it. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Wolves win, and also with Guedes opening his accounts. This has been episode 37 of the Wolves Report. Thank you to Alex Richards. He's only getting a half fee for half a show. Thanks to Nocky. Thanks to Tyler. I hope you'll join us again next week when maybe we've talked about a cup win. Maybe then we can talk about a league win as well. Thank you for joining us. We are available on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook to rewatch the show. Please join, like, and subscribe. Up the Wolves.